Gunline. We got a fire mission coming down, y'all. I'm your host, Lopez, and you're listening to the On the Gunline podcast, where we have conversations just like we would out in the field, in between the trails, under that net, or if you were a heavyweight, obese motherfucker inside of that paladin. If you know, you know. With that being said, today is a family day here on the Gun Line. Third time to the pod. It's I keep saying my nephew, but he's more like my brother. Nephew only because of titles. But other than that, I'm only 8 days older than this cat right here. And we've been having some conversations on the side. And when he came to visit, we had a lot of conversations as well about some of our decisions that we've made. And you know, uh, I'll let him give you a bit of his background. And just to let you know, today's conversation is going to focus on reintegration, into society. And so for veterans, when we coming back from combat specifically, and we have to reintegrate back to society, we have our own challenges that comes with. You know what I mean? And right now, when y'all hear his story, you'll understand why I believe that, his life probably has some challenges as well, reintegrating back to society. So with that said, hey, what's up, Dago? Come on. How you doing today?
Hey, what's up, Danny? Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
No
Love your show,
doubt.
man.
Thank you.
Watch
Thank
it
you.
every
Thank you.
time when I'm at work. I put it on the background right there, and I'm just listening to your convos, man. I
I,
mean,
pre-
so good
I
shit. You
appreciate
did
the
doing some
support, man.
good shit, man.
I appreciate the support, brother. I really, really do, man.
Hey,
I
got him, my
try to.
brother.
So, a lot of folks, for those that don't know about you, if you could just give us a quick wrap around as far as your past, and your where it's led you to into your presence now.
So let me see. So I'm not going to give you the whole,
Right.
get down, but I'll give you a quick little rundown. Let's see. I grew up in Los Angeles. Um, when I was well, first I started off in South Central, down the street from my grandfather's house with your dad's. Um, went to school there. We went to school to South Park Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I think we were getting into trouble, and they wanted to split us up. So what they ended up doing was, I think my parents ended up moving to the west side. So they moved over there by the Hollywood area first, and then moved to the MacArthur Park area for a little bit, and then they ended up in between, right there by Vermont and Olympic.
Mm-hmm.
From there, it was different because in South Central you're growing up with African Americans. You know what I mean? And at that time we were the minority. And I know today you see that there's Latinos everywhere, but back then we were shorthanded. You know what I mean? And you get that goes along with it. I mean, you get bullied. So you had to, so you really had to toughen it up real quick.
Yeah, for real.
So anyways, I ended up in the West Side, started going to school out there. I'm Salvadorian. My parents are Salvadorian. Grew up in a two-parent home. Um, hard workers. A little drinking here and there. You know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of drinking really.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I don't know about this little
yeah,
drinking,
yeah,
but
yeah.
just to
So
put a
yeah.
little perspective for folks, this is the 80s and 90s that we
Mhm.
grew up in. All right. So I know we look like young ass cats and like we're in our
Sounds
20s
good.
and shit, but we're talking about growing up, basically the 80s and the 90s. That's our era that we grew up in as teenagers. Go ahead, brother.
So I'm staying in the West Side now. My mom cleans houses. Her whole life she cleaned houses. Never drove a car. Rode the bus her whole entire life.
Yes.
You tell her what bus you want to take, she'll give you the numbers and what time to get there. Now she's retired, so she wouldn't know so much about it.
Mm-hmm.
My father, he was a hardworking man. I had a little drinking thing going on after work, but he tried his best. He did his best. He was a good man. Um, he was at a factory, cardboards, making cardboard boxes, stuff like that. So that was his spiel at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, my parents were it was off and on, right? Because my dad will be at work all day, and once he came back home, he'll do his little thing. You know what I mean, he'll start drinking. He'll go to eat and then start drinking, whatever. My mom, she'll get home late, maybe like around 7, and as soon as she got home, she'll start doing what she did. You know what I mean, going crazy. How come the house ain't clean? And then we'll call it a night, right?
Right.
So in between all that time, I'm going to school, so whatever I'm catching and whatever I'm learning is either from people from outside of the house, outside of my home, or just from noticing my mom's and my dad's work ethics, right?
Mhm.
Regardless of what they did or whatever they were going through, they still got up that morning and went to work. You know what I'm saying? And that was just to put food behind the table, right?
Yep.
So I think about the age of, well, really, because I always got in trouble, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Growing up in South Central, I remember burning the closet, and I don't think I did it on purpose. It's just I was always curious, you know. I always wanted like something. I always felt like something was missing, right?
Right.
And so I was always getting in trouble. But once I got at the end of elementary and junior high,
Mm-hmm.
that's really when I felt like I started noticing gangs more, and not because the gang members were punking me or bullying me. It was more because the awareness that the schools were trying to bring. I remember them bringing their program, right? Their drugs against what was it? Their drugs against
Drug abuse resistance education.
drug abuse resistant education, right?
Yeah.
And at
We used
that
to
time,
say it
yeah,
was drugs are really exciting.
yeah. And at that time, I would notice, you know, people doing certain things, you know, fights and stuff like that. But I never. I think they brought more of a curiosity to me, like, oh, there, what's that drug? Oh, that's what they slanging in the corner, you know. So it
Right.
kind of backfired because it made it. They kind of almost kind of glorified it at the same time, and
Right.
those are the ones that were getting the attention, right? The ones that were doing good, they were just kind of overlooked. Say, okay, good job, Timmy. Let me see what this guy's doing over here, right?
Right.
So I kind of like that attention because I wasn't really getting it at home. Now that I think about it,
You know what?
and
I don't mean to cut you off, but yeah,
yeah,
I see
go
where
ahead.
you're going with that as far as like you noticed that the extra attention or love was being given to those that were
Yeah,
getting in trouble.
right.
I could see that. You know, damn, that's a good way to look at it, bro, because we weren't getting that attention at home.
No,
You
yeah,
know, but and just to put it in perspective as well, it's not that we're dogging our parents because we're not.
no, no,
They
not
were
at
just
all.
hard workers,
Yeah,
and same as his. Like my dad worked all fucking
yeah,
day in construction, got
yeah.
back, drank, went to sleep. Next day, that's just a work ethic that they had. I never saw my dad take a day off because he was hungover. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So my bad, but go ahead. Yeah, I
No, you're
see.
good.
So their program comes, they kind of put a spotlight
Yeah,
onto the shit that was negative,
yeah,
and it kind of like a moth to a flame, right?
right,
All
right.
right, so go ahead, man.
Yeah. So during this time, things are being glorified, and I'm catching it, right? And then you know my area, my community is filled with gangs at that time. You know, this
Yeah,
is like mid '80s, late '80s. You know, so it's really gangbanging. It's really to the top. I
it
mean, that
is.
stuff that people haven't seen before. And then the area I grew up in, there's a lot of Central Americans. So there's a lot that were coming back. They were coming down from their country to our area with that
Mhm.
Civil War mentality, you
Right.
know. So stuff that they seen over there and they seen over here, they're like, shit, I could get away with this shit. Over there, I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So they were impart that into us. And they would say, and we'll be like, hey man, we're kind of like, so anyways, man, I'm jumping too fast.
No, you're good,
So
man.
yeah, so all that stuff was going on, right? So as I was going, as soon as I jumped into junior high, it was over, man. I was already ending up in doing a hall. I was already hanging out with certain people, and I ended up joining the gang. You know,
Right.
and it's not because I picked a certain gang. It's just that that's the one that that, that caught me. I
Right.
was like, I was already going everywhere. Like I was already like, you know, when you're a troublemaker and you're in junior high, you don't want to be in school. You want to jump in and you want to go chill at the kitchen party. You want to go kick it
Right.
at the certain kickback spot. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in school. You know,
Right.
so it's like wherever you land, right? Because I know people that grew up in the valley and ended up in the LA gang, right?
Right.
Because that's who took them in. You know, that was their family. So from that point, I joined the gang, and after that, I mean, it was a rough ride. I was in and out of jail. I went from juvenile hall to the prison. Um, what else? I've been shot 6 times. Um, been in and out of prison, and then so I kind of fast forwarding right now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And in between that time, I also had an issue with law enforcement. I don't know if you're familiar with the Rampart scandal, but
Mm-hmm.
this is the time when law enforcement was actually doing a lot of corrupt shit. They were stealing evidence stuff from the evidence room. They were got caught with keys of cocaine. They were caught grabbing gang members, beating them, all kinds of stuff, right? And then once one cop snitched, they all started snitching on each other. They kind of went like that, and instead of fixing the problem, what they did was just grab officers and throw them into other departments to make it look like okay, they're gone from here, but now we do the problem somewhere else. You
Right.
know, and you know, so that's this just the time. I'm just giving you a little
Right.
view of what was going on this time. So everybody's running amok, man. So you know, so through this time, I've been involved in drugs. I was involved in gangs, and violence. I was caught up in prison. I was caught up in all kinds of crazy stuff. Right?
So
And
just
this, yeah, go ahead.
so just for to give a little bit of a visual, um, where were you locked up at?
So I went to juvenile hall, went to CAT. I went to Camp Miller, Gonzalez. I've been Challenger. I went to all the juvenile halls, Silmar, East Lake, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Los Padrinos. And then I got a case with one of my older homies. He hit some. It was something went crazy, right? So I ended
Yeah.
up at juvenile hall again. And at that time, I was about to turn 18.
Oh shit.
So they were like, you either we could send you over to the county, or you could stay right here, right? And you'll go to YA or whatever, right? So I'm thinking
Mm.
like, yeah, I want to see back then, man. If you made it to the county, if you made it to prison, I was more like going from community college to the university. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like those were like I never thought I was gonna live to be 18. You know, like I wasn't even heard of like we knew that we were destined to something happen to us. We just didn't know what. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There was no, oh, you're gonna be a doctor, you're gonna be a mechanic. You know, not even
Yeah,
like
dude. And
thinking
it's
about being a roofer was out of the question. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, give me some hard work. That was
no,
the mentality. That was
it,
the mentality.
exactly. Growing up at that time frame, I try to explain to some people out here. Y'all may not know this, but I did my old little knucklehead shit back in the day. Don't let the motherfucking outfit fool y'all. But anywho, with that being said, growing up, what we did, our Ice Cube said it in the song, man. Our superheroes don't fly in the skies and stars; they live behind bars. So I do clearly remember thinking, like, one day I'm gonna get locked up, and kind of look forward to going to the joint, going to get locked up and going to prison. You know, thankfully, praise God, I didn't make it to there. Certain
Right.
decisions that I made, but dude, that's just the mentality that was out there in our neighborhoods when we grew up. We didn't have like a lot of positivity coming out from in those areas, because probably the fools that we had to look up to were already locked up anyway. All our big homies were already locked up. So the only ones out there running amok are 18, 19, 20, 21 year olds with that mentality of like, vamos a chingar, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so you got locked up, you did some county.
And you got to remember too that when they would get out, just how they would be glorified. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, the big homies about to get out, and
Yep.
oh man, we gotta get them ready. You know, like especially if it was somebody righteous. I mean, not just
Right.
anybody. So that type of stuff, stands out. You know what I'm saying? You're like, dang, because over here you're being persecuted. You know what I mean, for the activities that you're part of every day.
Right.
And then over here, you're being glorified for just getting out of prison for something that you did.
Right.
That right here that we're talking about, you were no good about. So it's
Right.
like okay, so if I can't beat them, I'm joining. I mean, so you just go with it, right?
Yep.
And so, but a lot of disaster happens throughout that time. I mean,
Yeah.
like so many things, like from one minute to the other, someone could be laying dead. Um, Someone could have got beat up just because said the wrong thing. They looked at
Mhm.
you wrong. You having problems with your family. You're losing your family. You got kids. You can't raise them because you're in and out of prison. What else? I mean, and I'm gonna get to the trauma. That's what I'm trying to get.
Right.
I'm trying to line it up to
You're
the
painting the
trauma, right?
picture of the trauma. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So as I'm going, I go to juvenile hall. I'm going to go to, end up in county. Man, at that time, county was on the pop, and if somebody young, it was like Disneyland to me, man. It was like Disneyland on Con Air. You know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
like I'm just like because everybody's going crazy, and then certain people had green lights. Green lights is when a whole gang goes after a certain individual or a certain gang because
Hmm.
they didn't go by the rules, right? So at that time it was all the Asians and then all other certain. So it was for a kid, you're like just going crazy, right? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I'm going back and forth. So I get it quick, I got it quick because I'm in survival mode.
And
At this time, I already went from two in the hall and all this. Yeah, go ahead, Daddy.
oh, I was gonna say no, and also, one thing that's funny is like for people to trip out on this is out in the society, we don't obey the law. You know what I mean? We don't obey the rules that are placed upon us.
Right,
But once you get locked up, there's some rules that you got to follow, or it's not like out here in the streets where you can duck and hide.
right,
You need to follow these rules and structure.
right.
So
Yeah,
go ahead, man.
yeah. So then I was in and out of jail, and then I ended up going to prison. First time I went to prison was because we tried to rob this drug dealer that was to pay rent. Me and my best friend, with my road dog back then, We were drunk on some Presidente, and next you know, we're robbing everybody. We had like about 100 beepers on our sides that day. We had like, you know, back then it was beepers, right?
Mm.
And we tried to rob this guy, man. But the thing is that, you know, he was ready too. And so he ended up shooting us up. We ended up going to jail, catching home invasion, kidnapping, and all that, right?
Damn.
So we ended up we could have actually beat it, but because my road dog and me wanted to know how prison was,
Yeah.
that's the only reason we took a plea bargain and we actually went upstate. But we
Oh,
could have actually beat it and got off the street. But who's to know what would have happened if we would have got out? Because we were running amok already, you know?
exactly.
We were already going crazy, right? So we go through the system. Now we're going through prison, right? That's a whole different ballgame. Now you're you're eating soup with someone that you were trying to kill down the street a while ago. You know what I mean? Now you're all of a sudden now you're joining forces with the opposition just because you got a racial tension and they got certain rules and politics in there that
Right.
you have to abide by. You know, so even if you don't like it, either you go with it or you just get stomped out.
Right.
And it's plain and simple. You know what I mean? And that's just that hard love. You know what I mean? And I say hard love. That's hard love. I mean, you be hanging out with a couple of guys, and let's just say you say something wrong or you did something wrong. Just quick is how fast it's gonna be to beat your ass.
Right.
And then if they don't like you, they'll keep going to break you. But if you're with the business, then you're gonna get up, shake hands, and say, okay, let's do this all over again,
Right.
right? And they you know you're stomping somebody else out. That might have just been hanging out with you too. But that's the game. That's what you signed up for. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? This is nothing surprising. This you seen this already happening, and you said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go with it." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you know what I mean. At the end of the day, I ain't got nobody to blame but myself. You know
Right.
what I mean? I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. I'm with it." You know. So all this took place. I went to prison again for sales, and then another time went. It was conviction and sales, and then last one I think it was a GBI, but I think I caught that in there. And then after that, I discharged a number and I kept going to violations, nothing but gang violations. Every
Órale.
time I would get out, they would violate me on gang association, and it was always a year straight. So I
Oh
did
shit.
so for parole. If you do like 4 years, the max is four because they extended to 1 year, right? You get discharged.
Okay.
So I discharged one number by going getting my violations, and then the second number I caught for doing something to some guy, and instead of him saying that I tried to beat him up, he tried to say that I tried to rob him. So it got switched up on me. I could have beat it, and I ended up taking a plea bargain. I got another number, and
Mm.
that number when I got out, it was an easy number. I was going to discharge it real quick, but I was still. Now I was thinking different, man. I was like, I was trying to take off my because I used to have tattoos on my face and my neck
Right.
and stuff, right? And I started thinking like, man, I should just start taking these off and get away with stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in the neighborhood, that's a no. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to. That's how crazy it was because another thing back like and I'm taking off my tattoos, and then I'm still running around the neighborhood, dump, you know what I mean? And I know that there's people want to say stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't because that fear. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like I know that once one said, I think now, if one would have said something, I'm pretty sure others would have gone along with it because I already violated the rule. But these
Right.
guys were so scared that like this was going to do something if I say something, you know?
Well, you
So
already
that's
had a
why,
reputation for
yeah, I
shit
already
like
had.
that.
So I'm thinking like, okay, so I'm doing all this, but I'm trying to take off the tattoos on my face, and
Right.
that's because I knew they were standing out, and I was going to do the neck. I wasn't even thinking about the neck yet. And I
Mm.
got set up by law enforcement again. So I
Mm.
got set up at Rampart, and they had someone from the neighborhood that didn't like me, started fabricating stuff, right? But where they fucked up at is that the description, how they linked me to that case was that they said that they yelled out my name, my gang monitor, and that they also seen the tattoos on my face. The tattoos on
Mm.
my face were already gone like 6 months, 7 months.
So it
And
already
when you're going,
healed.
yeah, and when you're going to sessions, you're taking pictures of how light it looks. So when I'm going to municipal, I'm in court and I'm already knowing like at first I don't even know what the hell's going on. I'm thinking like a million things, like, okay, which one is this? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I got caught for what, you know?
Right.
At that time I couldn't even remember what yesterday did. You know what I mean? Because you're just going. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, okay, you tell me on October 7th, where were you? Damn, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Oh fuck, you know what I mean? And so
Right.
you're running amok, right? So all that happened, and they fucked up with the tattoo. They said that the tattoo, so when I'm a municipal, they're like, you say here that the reason you guys identify these guys because the tattoos on the face. And so I'm already in the books. So
Yeah.
they already have gang pictures of me with the tattoos on my face, everything. So that's how they deal me. So
Yeah.
when they ask the witness, hey, what's the tattoos in his face? or do you see any tattoo on his face? The lady's like, look, first time she ever looked at me, look, and like, oh, and then like, okay, and but she hadn't said yet that was the description. You know what I mean?
Okay.
She was bringing them in, and she goes, okay, do you see anything, any kind of visible tattoos on his face or anything like that? He goes, no, man. You know what I mean? The girl's going along with it, and then the guy goes, then my lawyer, she goes, let the whatever show that the person that they say did this had tattoos on top of this, and that,
Right.
and there's none on this guy. And I'm thinking in my head like, I'm getting out.
Yeah.
I'm getting out right now. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is Pete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a whole different person to describe.
Now, was this a PD or a lawyer?
It was just a PD,
No
regular
shit.
PD. Yeah, and she was bad. She was bad. Miss Shankman, she was a Jewish broad. Bad
That's
man. Yeah, her teeth were all yellow from smoking. You could tell, man. She was old lady, and then so she does that, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna get out right now because they obviously it's not me who they said, right?
right.
And so she does that. She goes, the girl says, no, there's no tattoo, whatever. And then the Miss Shagman looks at me. She goes, these motherfuckers setting you up, right? And then I'm like, bitch, I've been trying to tell you that shit, right? Like, I'm like, bitch, what you think I've been telling you, right?
Right.
And so I'm thinking, okay, but she goes, she asked for the case to be dismissed, but because of my priors, they kept me in there and raised my bail to I don't know so much, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, fuck, man, I had to fight it in there for a year and a half.
Oh,
That
fuck.
year and a half
Yeah.
was the biggest eye opener I ever had in my entire life. As far as my life, like the stuff I stood up for, like
Mhm.
the stuff they even done. I mean, like I thought back and like, fuck, like, I can't believe I was doing so many stupid shit. You know what I mean? And at that time, the neighborhood had caught a green light because they were gangbanging out there, you know.
Ah,
And in our eyes, we're from the West, we're from the dirty West. There ain't no politics over here. This ain't East LA. This ain't Venice or Sotel or Culver City that go back to the 20s. You know what I mean? Like
right.
we some refugee members over here. Say,
right.
but like we're the, you know what I mean? So we're thinking we're gangbanging. So, but in there, sometimes people are connected and the politics and everybody was getting their ass whipped.
Yeah.
So as I'm going in the county, man, sure enough, hey, Dago, I know everybody, you know? I know everybody in there, man. So they're like,
Yeah.
damn, Boggs, the hood got the green light and this and that. I'm like, do what you got to do, you know? And they'll be like, look, they will work. They'll be like, look, we're gonna send another wheeler out. The wheelers are no, and they will
Right.
send it down to high power to the game master, and they'll ask, is it the south central side or the west side that got the green light, right? But it was, I'll say, but that
yeah.
would delay it because it would take about back then there was no cell phones like it is today, you know?
Right.
It would delay it. So the communication would be from 1 week, maybe to the next week. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Because they would have to go, and that would delay them from putting hands on me because they're like, don't trip box. By that time, you already be caught the supermax and you still with it over there, you know?
Right.
So sure enough, that's what happened. They would delay it, and then by the time the note come back, I'm already catching the cane, you know?
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, but sometimes it wouldn't work like that, you know? Sometimes I roll up and there's like two other little homies there, and they'll be like, look, Box, we know that you know what I mean, that we got these going on, but we're gonna beat on your two little homies. I'm like, I can't. I go, I can't watch my little homies get beat up. And I'm
Right.
right here, and they go back to the neighbor and be like, if remember when I was watching you get beat up, you said like,
With popcorn and shit.
with popcorn, remember really? That was a good time, huh?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I would be like, hey, if they get in it, I gotta get it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so sure, then so that was that. And then I would start getting mean. I was starting getting like, I would say bitter maybe, or I would just get upset because all these cats around me, like after they beat the hell out of me, they'll be like, all right, Southside spread, all right, let's quit. You know me like, and I'll be like, these motherfuckers, you know what I mean? And at
Right.
some point, man, when you're getting fucked up for 39 seconds every week, and you're hoping that you don't have a black guy when your family calls you out to go visit,
Yeah.
because that's what's really gonna feel it. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I'm going through shit. It's all good. I signed up for this. But going out with a black guy or fucked up, my girl's gonna see me like, what's going on in there? You know, like,
Right.
oh, okay, babe. You know what I mean? Like, we good. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? So how you think? You know, let's change it up. You know, and they're the ones that are gonna feel it when they leave. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't know
Yeah.
what's going on with me inside. You know what I mean? They don't know that I'm just like, fuck, I gotta do what I gotta do. You know,
Right.
I'm used to that kind of shit. You know,
And
they're
then it
feeling it
gets
the most.
glorified, like like movies like American Me come out,
Yeah,
fucking Blood in,
yeah,
Blood Out, making the prisons look like this is what's going on. So they're
yeah,
in their head, they're thinking like, holy shit,
yeah,
any day could be his number.
yeah. And
So
that's
I
how
mean,
you,
that's a lot of
yeah.
stress that you had to have on you
Hey,
while you're in there.
and that's what I'm saying, man. That's a lot of mental games out. And remember, you're preparing. It's like almost knowing your day that you're dying.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I die on this day, so you know me. So it's almost like, okay, Thursday, 6 o'clock after dinner, don't get your ass whooped again.
Right.
It's like, okay, and I just really got over maybe a fucked the rib, maybe a busted lip. You know what I mean? I'm
God
like, fuck,
damn.
what they gonna fuck up on me now? Because I'm not a little kid. I'm not small, so they will put big motherfuckers on me.
Right.
And who would they put? People that didn't get along with me in the streets. And what was I doing in the streets? Doing some stupid shit. So they're like, oh, we gonna get your ass now. You know what I mean? So it's like, fuck it. You know,
Right.
that's how it works. You can't say shit. You can fight back, but you got three people. I don't care if you think you're Batman, don't come like them. You gonna get your ass with. Somebody gonna get you from the back,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you're gonna feel it, and then you're gonna use the wall so much, you know.
Man.
But just what I would do, I would just stick to the biggest one and just
Yeah.
keep going at it with them, and because you wouldn't even feel the other hits.
You,
You know what I mean? Until something connects to you, and then you feel it, and then that's when you're like, okay, fuck it, now let's see what's happening.
yeah,
Now
dude.
they're gonna stop me out.
I'll tell you what, I could go 1-on-1. I could go 1-on-2, but I can handle two. But I'll get my ass whooped lumped up. But when back in the day when they used to call it a check court. I don't know if they still do that.
Yeah.
I had to fall in line with one, and they just called me out like, "Hey, fool, this, that, and that." Like, all right, fucking, let's do what we got to do. And I just saw the motherfuckers turn around on me. Then I had the one dude that was about to do the countdown, and they like go. Whoever was right in front of me was the one that just caught it. Just blah from there, just started swinging. Who que le pega, and next thing, like you said, man, you don't even feel the fucking hits because I ended up on the floor, unfortunately, and I started getting fucking kicked. And then the time was up, got up, shook hands. Which hindsight being 2020, you just whooped my ass, huh? You want me to shake
But
your
that's
hand?
how they show you. That's hard. That's again hard luck.
Right,
That's
right,
almost like when your family spanks you
right.
because you almost cross the street without asking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like next time you're gonna remember to ask
Oh yeah.
before you cross the street.
Oh yeah. That was a hell of
You know what I'm
a.
saying?
It was a
But
good reminder.
that's the training. That's the training. That's the get down.
Well,
That's what
and
you're involved in.
in prison wise though, I mean, there's also, it gets to a point where it's no more hands, right?
No, no,
Depending on.
no. And that's what's good because in the past, I think the late 80s, early 90s, see now everything's washed down. And this you gotta remember, this is the last time that I went to jail. This is like in '09. This is the
Okay.
last time I ever touched jail county,
Okay.
ever since then, right? And even at that time, things there was no sensitive knee yards like there are now.
Right.
There was no now the PC yards or the protective custodies, their yards are they're higher in population than the regular general.
Oh no shit.
That's how bad it's getting. Yeah, so that's how it is now, right?
Right.
But at that time you could tell how things were getting kind of watered down, and that's another reason why I was like I have to like I wouldn't I don't mind following rules. Like I could follow rules all day. Like if you tell me we gotta do this, we'll do it. I don't know. That's just the way I was programmed, right?
Right.
But I have a hard time now following for someone I know you're not doing. You know what I'm saying? Like back then I wouldn't question it. Like I already knew this guy was older or whatever, and I knew that the rules work. I work out every morning. You know what I mean? We gotta roll up our beds. We gotta do whatever. We gotta do whatever to stay alive and to survive up in prison, jail, whatever the case might be. Everything has rules, right?
Mhm.
This time around, I'm like, I'm already catching the blues. Um, I'm already kind of like aware, like I'm already growing up, and I'm like, fuck, like, do I want this for the rest of my fucking life? You know? And I have
Yeah.
never asked myself that. I had never even thought about it. I thought that was my life.
Do you think
And
there was a specific moment that where it hit you where you were like,
yeah,
what
by
the
them
fuck?
setting me up,
Okay.
by them using my homeboy, whatever the homeboy was,
Hmm.
to set me up at that time because that's what it was. I come to find out all that at the end. So, and that person's not around no more. I mean, I didn't do nothing to him, but he was killed by someone else in front of his
Right.
property, but whatever, right? But anyways, so I'm already growing better. I'm like, fuck, all this shit, man, right? Every morning, all this, and then now you have people that you have to abide by because, but they're dope fiends, they're straight drug addicts, and you're
Right.
like, fuck, this fool is just doing all this shit for he could get his cut on drugs, you know? And it's like, and then they're setting people up, like, you know what I mean, like, go do this, and you just setting them up to for failure, you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
so at that time, I would just stay to my own because I already knew the rules. I've been abiding by the rules. I knew how to get them right.
Yeah.
And man, it's the youngsters will gravitate to me. they'll come and they'll talk, what's up, boss? What you doing? I'll be chilling right there, like, let's get some chess, play some Pino, of course,
Yeah.
right? And I'll be right there and I'll start talking, laughing to it. I'll be like, bro, man, this is just a waste of time, bro. I go, it's all good. We look, we're gonna do what we gotta do right now, but when we get out, that's when we got change. I mean,
Yep.
fun is done. We're not gonna come up here and say, oh, we're Christian or that, oh no, now I'm changing my life. No, no, no.
Right.
It's gonna happen after the consequences are done. You're not
Okay.
gonna change it up just because you got in trouble. That's the mentality.
Yeah.
Just because you got in trouble, all of a sudden now you're sorry. Now you're not sorry. You're sorry because you got caught.
You got
You know what
caught.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the only reason you're thinking like that. So, anyways, I would try to plant seeds in them, right? And then one time I'm getting a haircut, right? I'm going to trial, and the some type of Florence, he's trimming me up and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And another youngster, they're watching right there, right? And he's like, hey man, you look like a fucking counselor, right? I go, for real? He goes, yeah. Man, he goes, hey dog, you could be a counselor, man, for real. And I was like, okay, whatever's right. But
Yeah.
it stands out to me now. And so I'm like, whatever, went on business. So I went to trial twice. I beat it.
Yeah.
First time I ever walked out of the county jail, man.
No
Walked out of the county jail, and I remember calling my girl, come pick me up. I'm gonna go get some food. And from there, bro, it's just like I just said, fuck, I'm gonna do something with myself, man.
Right.
And but I still had those like my mentality, bro. Like it was like I was living in Pacoima, right? I had a place right there. We were chilling. Something with the neighborhood. Like I felt like I was missing something. But I knew that was all my cases. Everything was always in the same perimeter, in
Right.
the same area. You know what I mean? Nothing ever happened outside, even though shit happened. But it was all my cases were always there, and yet I always ended up back in the same place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, what the fuck? Like, I just never, that's called ignorance, right? When you're
Mm-hmm.
repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's not,
That's
insanity,
insanity.
right? That's
Mm-hmm.
insanity, right? So it's like, that's what I feel like I was doing. I was just doing this shit. You know what I mean? So, fuck, I got to get down. I wouldn't, now that I want to work, I won't get hired because of the tattoo on my
Right.
neck, the way I would dress, the way I would present myself, my approach, my demeanor. Like, it'd be like, man, this guy's going to fuck us up if we tell him, you know what I mean, you want to work overtime or something.
Right.
So I'm like, damn, man. So then I heard about this one job, man. I'm like, I applied for it. They told me, okay, we'll hear from you in 2 weeks. Ended up in New York. I was actually in New York with my girl, right?
Oh
And the
damn.
guy calls me, we're in the car, and I'm like, and then the guy I was talking to the guy that was driving, right? He was like, he goes, you ain't got no job out there, right? Because I was telling him that I just got out and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was like, nah, he goes, man, you're gonna get something soon, man. He was a man of faith, right? And he
Okay.
was like, next thing I know, like an hour later, I get the phone call, and he was like, and bro, he goes, where you at? Isn't I go, well, I'm kind of out of town right now. He was like, when you come back, you got a job. Like, for real, man? He was like, yeah. So I was like, oh man, it was on the crack. So I
Yeah.
was like, so I stood there. I think we left like on a Sunday. When I came back, I went up. I went to the. It was for a community base.
Okay.
Reaching out to those that were incarcerated and try to plug them into resources. You know what I
Right.
mean? So instead of doing something that's not productive, they get plugged in with something that's going to give them something out of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you gotta keep them occupied because when you got the time is idle, bro.
Yes.
If you ain't got nothing to do, if you don't keep yourself busy with something constructive, bro, it's like leaving a dog in the house all day with nothing to do. Your house is gonna be tore up by the time you get back.
I always said that the idle mind is the devil's playground. You know what I mean? That's what I heard.
Mhm.
And ever since I heard that, it stuck into my head, man. And that leads into the PTSD, which we'll discuss here later. But because we're barely scratching the top of the iceberg, and we got 3 minutes left before I gotta send you out the new link. But
Okay.
yeah, man,
So let
dude,
me finish the part. Let me finish up, then we'll continue on.
yeah, for sure.
So ended up over there, started working. Fast forward, I ended up doing everything backwards. I ended up graduating from community college. Then I got my GED. And from GED, I went to Cal State, and Cal State I'm waiting to graduate this year coming up. I've been working in the past what now 12, 13 years in the social field.
Yeah.
I've gone from reentry, intervention, prevention. I've done groups of schools. I've done a bunch of trainings, and then my own personal life experience. You know what I mean?
You
That's what
know,
really helps out when I take it to the table to help.
exactly, bro. And dude, that's one thing I want to touch on when we come back. Is re-entry, as you call it, coming back to the civilian sector for us in the military, and also for those coming back from the inmate life. I don't know what type of programs, if any, or resources they give y'all when you come out, or do they just say, "Here's your motherfucking last check, get out on a
Yes,
Greyhound"?
and
Porque
that's what they give you.
because that's one thing I did see every time, like, because when I used to go to Job Corps down there in San
Yeah,
Diego, I used to see a lot of fools that had just got out, at the Greyhound station here in LA, and they were like, yeah, they would greet each other and whatnot. And they were like, yeah, man, they just let us out right now, and you know, that's it, man. They're on you're on your fucking own pretty much. So there's like no, I don't know if there's, well, we'll talk about it when we get
yeah,
back
for
because you
sure.
know more about that. And that way, if there's anybody that's listening, they can start getting plugged into that. The reason that I brought you on here as well is because one thing I've noticed, there's been an uprise in veterans, military veterans getting locked up, and so this is kind of like I want them to have an eye opener, like, hey man, just because you were a veteran, thank you for your service, but that shit don't mean nothing in the prisons. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to do what you got to do in there to survive as well. So, but
But you at the same time,
mhm,
remember you sometimes when we're out of our comfort zone, that's when we got those pains and aches, right? Like we're uncomfortable, right?
right,
That's really when the growth start, right? Thing about it is that once you get thrown into prison, military life and prison life almost the same. It just got
yeah,
a different title. You might just feel comfortable when you go in there because now you have the camaraderie again. Now you got the
right,
rules. Now you got you know what I mean? Like you got to follow certain things. You know what I mean? Because
yep,
it's a militant type of
e-
way of thinking. You
exactly.
know what I mean? So then that might just be comfortable for them. And they get stuck on it too.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about that in about 10 minutes. Y'all ain't even gonna notice it, but I'll see you in about 10 minutes.
All
All
right,
right,
fool.
y'all. We are back for part two. I don't look. I got a fucked up memory because I got a traumatic brain injury. I got a TBI, so I don't remember exactly what we were talking about. But I know we had talked about you getting the job, right?
Yeah, I think we left off at
You had just
uh
gotten the job.
just got the job, and then I talked about going back to school, and then
There you go. That's right. So
working in the field for a couple of years now, and 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 I think we said all that just to get to the topic, right? The trauma.
that was the yeah. So
Yeah.
that was a setup for so everybody can know your prior to what you're doing now. Now let's talk a little bit about how it was when you got to the point where you said, "Fuck it, I'm done with this dumb shit that I'm doing or whatever. No disrespect or whatever, but I'm done doing what's holding me back." How about we'll put it like that. So you make the decision. Now you come out into the civilian sector or back into society, I guess you could say. Well, unfortunately, you're already going to have a stigma on you, a big old target on your head, because back then, for folks that don't know, well, you had already got the tattoos off. Now, when he says he had facial tattoos, it's not like they have them out here today. These fools have gone like overboard.
If they were doing that, if they were doing it today, if they were doing it back then like today, I would have never got that. Put it like that.
Yeah,
It
those.
was a whole different ballgame. And today, I don't know. Go ahead. Yeah, go
No,
ahead.
I was just saying, like, because I remember you had, you had your tattoos on your face. You know what I'm saying? But they weren't. You had to look. They're not like today where you can see just everybody's fucking like Takashi 6ix9ine's bitch ass.
Right,
And not only that, but you had a big one on your neck. You know what
right,
I'm saying? So that right there alone, you could always, cover up your sleeves because your
right,
arm. You could always cover those up. But the ones on your neck, it's going to be a little more difficult.
right.
And then, being that I don't want to say you come out institutionalized, but there's a certain way you carry yourself when you first come out. Like when I remember when we were youngsters, when we were walking by we were walking in Santa Monica, and there was like this old veterano that was walking by us, and he just had that look like he just got out. And I remember you went up like, "Hey, you just got out, homie?" He's like, "Yeah, just got out." Because there's just
Yeah,
this look, the way they carry themselves.
right.
So that's gonna be like a stigma for y'all to find a job. So how do you deal with that coming out, being a high stress situation that you're in all the time, because you could think you're safe, but are you really? You know what I mean? When you're locked up. So coming out here, how I guess what I'm trying to say is how do you mentally prepare yourself when you get out?
Well, you learn the hard way. There's no one that, you know what? If it wasn't for my family owning at that time, if it wasn't for my family that I had around me, the good people that I had around me, I probably would have ended up in jail or dead by now, because you need something. You need support. You need someone to help you, not even to help you, like, but to be there alongside you. Because if you're on your own, I mean, you could do it on your own, but man, it's just it's all mental, bro.
Yeah.
It's all mental. Because remember, what you've been learning for so many years, you have to unlearn now and then learn something new, replace that way that you cope, to replace the way that you deal with things. You know what I mean? Because back then, like I can't. I'm bad at being confrontational.
Right.
Like if my boss pulls me aside and he tells me, "Look," back then at least, you know what I mean.
Right.
Now I got the hang of it. You know what I mean, because I've been practicing. But if he were to sit me down and be like, "Hey, look, you didn't do that right," I would take it like a champ. But back then, I wasn't taught that way. You know what I mean? So my brain is kind of like in a, "Hey, did this guy just disrespect you?" You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So you get that little trigger, you got to catch those triggers. You know what I'm saying? Because if not, your reaction is gonna dictate what happens next. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it's that self control that you can't fight your way through everything. You gotta pick and choose your wars. You know what I
It-
mean?
yeah. And there's this guy that you put me on to listen to, Dub S. And he's a homie that, well, not a homie. He's not my homie or anything like that. But
Right,
he's a cat that got out the joint after doing 24 years for a murder and whatnot. But he's using his influence now to try to go ahead and spit positivity out there.
right,
And I thank you so much for putting me to listen to that guy. And like he was saying, I guess because he was in a level 4 yard his whole time, the way it sounds, and it's just a high stress life, and I've been hearing him talk about PTSD. You know
right,
what I mean? And
right,
it reminded me of the conversations that you and I had about PTSD, you know,
right.
um, starting from the trauma that because look, okay, as men, all right, I'm a flat out fucking say it. As men, for us to admit that we have some kind of fucking trauma, it sounds like it's gay. All right, that's just I can't find any other word, but that's what it sounds.
I don't think it sounds gay. What it sounds like the unknown.
Weakness.
It
Well,
sounds like the unknown. No one spoke about that when you were young. Hey, you growing up, our family, well, at least what I
yeah,
remember was you don't cry, you like a little bitch, stop crying, but in
that's what I'm saying.
Spanish.
By the
Right?
gayness, you
And
know
you
what I
had to
mean?
tough it up, right? If it was a girl, oh, ¿qué le pasó,
Right,
mija? Oh, perdón. That's just how the culture was. You know what I mean? And
right,
that's what we're brought up in. And
exactly,
so when you say like I heard you, I think it was you had something posted about self care.
right.
I do we do a lot of self care work. I mean, it's a lot of mental.
Yeah,
We've taken a lot of stuff that people are going through, and we try to filter that, and then try to give them something good out of it, right? But remember, you're taking all this in, so you're talking about maybe abuse. You're talking about
yes,
neglect, abandonment. You see stuff. You got hoarding. You walk into houses that you're like, damn, like this person's doing real bad, but because of the mental.
right.
You know what I mean? And if we don't reach out to them, who is?
And
You
that's
know
the
what I
thing.
mean?
But see,
Yeah.
what I'm saying though, Dago, is like, okay, so the reason I think a lot of us don't, like, for example, I didn't want to accept that when they diagnosed me with PTSD, I
Right.
refused to accept it because to me it was like a form of weakness. All right. And in the military, similarly to, the life, that you led, if it looks weak, people in the military, people ain't gonna follow you if you're weak. You know what I mean? And then in the other life, that you came from, if you're weak, that could get you fucked up
Yeah.
and beyond.
Kill.
So exactly.
Yeah.
So the thing was for us, we didn't want to show weakness or you get clowned. Like, oh, okay, go wipe your sandy vagina would be one of the
Right.
biggest ones.
Right.
Like whenever you wanted to go and going to
Or,
seek
or just somebody
therapy.
calling you a bitch.
Oh God. Well, see,
That's that's what they're wrong. Like you look, and you know how I know we've grown up. And remember we were playing with Doug Call of Duty,
yeah.
and his thing is that he calls people bitches. Like, bitch,
Yes.
what the fuck, bitch? You know what I mean? And any other time would have been like, look, man, you the bitch. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we would have reacted different, right? Because that's a
Mhm.
word you don't tell somebody, right? Even
No.
today, you're like, hold up, brother. You know what I mean? You got me fucked up. I'm not gonna take it there, but you got me fucked up.
But
You know
see,
what I
I
mean?
think that's also not just a cultural thing, but that's a regional thing too. In LA, or I'll say I don't know about Cali. I'll talk about LA where we're from. You call somebody a bitch,
Yeah.
you get that's fighting words right there. You know what's one word that people throw out here a lot in Spanish? Pendejo. I can't stand that word, man. When I hear somebody say
It
pendejo, it's
gets
like,
you.
bro, that's my trigger word right there. It's like, See, now I have trigger words and shit.
No, I get you. I get
But
you. No,
that's the thing,
but
though.
it's the machismo, man.
Exactly.
We're brought up in a community that you know that you gotta be a machismo. I mean, like a man does this and the woman does that, the
And then
roles and all that. You know.
we're first generation here, so
Yeah.
that cycle is inbred in us big time. Like you said, I mean, our parents came from a hard life,
Yeah.
to come give us a better life.
Yeah.
Now, we could say that we had a hard life, but in comparison, we had it cake. Because I mean, your grandfather, my dad, he didn't have his first pair of shoes till he was 9. You know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? So,
Right.
but over here, I'm glad that we went through what we went through to turn into the men that we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but what I'm getting at was like, when I trade, like, okay, the self-care thing, even saying self-care to me, it feels a little like, like it doesn't. I wish there was
Right.
a different name for it for men. You know what I mean? Like for men don't cry, men tear. Men don't
Right.
faint, we pass out. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right. Right.
it's just like for me, it's a trip saying that there's trauma because there is trauma. So eventually, I
Yeah.
accepted that I have PTSD. Right?
Right.
Whatever y'all do. Well, I think let's rewind a little bit. Let's take it back to the CDC. So, the California Department of Corrections, do they have any kind of resources for inmates when they're reintegrated to society?
Bro. That's it. You got a parole officer or a probation officer,
So you're
and
just a number.
if they really just want to milk it to the smallest, you might get some court fees that you got to consider going to court. You know,
Yeah.
that's the rehabilitation. They said, okay, you're gonna pay your way through this shit. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And they give you $200. You parole, you got $200. Either you're going to the streets, and hopefully, if you got a case manager, someone to help you out
Yeah.
before you parole. Maybe you go into a halfway house. It depends if you've been there for a long time. You know, they got different programs for everything, right?
Right.
But for the most case, I mean, like let's just say someone that has just been going in and out of jail, going through the county, maybe one of these knuckleheads, maybe like 19, 20,
Yeah.
getting caught up for stupid shit, stealing a car, whatever, right?
Right.
They don't get nothing. They're thrown in there. They're milk for their sale because that's money. That's a corporation.
Right.
So they'll milk it that. They'll milk it through the court fees, and then they'll give a problem restitution. And he'll stay. He'll spend a couple of days there, a couple of nights, where they'll be able to charge his stay for that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the day before he goes home, maybe he'll get buzzed to wayside for no apparent reason, and then get sent back just because they wanted to tax that bus
Right.
another little $500-$600. So we're money signs.
Yeah.
So what I mean. It's not till today. Now these are changing. Now today we have a lot of people that are speaking up that go through that process, and it's like, now hold up, man. The way I learned this shit would be by somebody helping me. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we need in our communities, basically. And so there is nothing that's going to help you out when you get out, unless you have someone that's going to be your support system when you get out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be plug you in with the resources because LA is flooded with resources. There's resources all over. The thing about it is that when they get thrown out of here, they're not shown like these guys are not going. Oh, okay, let me go look at this resource and see what they can help me out. No, they're like, fuck, I need money right now. I gotta pay my rent. I got this and that, and they go back to the same shit.
It's almost like they're setting you up for you to come back in.
That's
They
what it is.
want you to come back in because
supply and demand. It's supply and demand.
There's
That's
more.
all it is.
There's more money in treating you than curing
Yeah.
you. So, in other words, why are they going to send you to get these resources? Because you might end up going on the straight and narrow. Now you're taking money out of their motherfucking pockets. So,
And look, the ones that build those prisons, they're subcontracted by the state. So those cells, the only way they're gonna get paid for those cells is by having an inmate in that cell. What's the best way? Like this is already going on in the late 90s, 2000s,
Yeah.
right? So what's the best way to keep somebody in there? But by giving them life. You don't have to worry about somebody coming back because they're stuck there for another 30, 40 years. You have that money coming in because you got to pay for that.
Right.
So guess what? Why do you think a lot of people get life for some stupid ass shit? And I say stupid shit because obviously someone with bigger standings or with more finances is able to walk away from something just that I got busted for, but because they got money, they're able to walk away from it. You know what I mean? Like, how is that fair? It's the same law. What changed from him to me? Because you had a better lawyer with a suit on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Make it fair. You know what I mean? Like, fuck it. If they're getting out, let us get out there. If you're gonna keep us, gonna keep them. That's. I'm not trying to play the victim. But what I'm trying to say is that you gotta see it for what it is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, at the end of the day, we all make our decisions that got us to where
Everybody.
we landed up, and you know what I mean. We all hindsight being 2020, but I mean, I think that one of the best ways is to do what you're doing, and that's getting at them at a youngster age. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I think I wish they would have more resources. Like I said, I don't know about for the CDC. I can tell you from the military system,
Right.
it's garbage, bro. We go there. They used to call it ACAP, and now it's I forget Soldier for Life Tap or some shit. I don't know what the fuck it is, but what it is like they teach you how to do a resume. They
Right.
teach you how to fucking transition everything you did in the military, how to put it into civilian words. Okay, cool. But that's not helping me when I get out here. How I'm gonna survive? The realities of out here.
Pressures of
So
life.
you know, I think personally, I during the podcast, I've been saying there should be like a mentorship program on your way out. Like 90 days before you get out, they start telling you like, hey, this is gonna be your mentor. Like a veteran. It'll be like that signs up for it. Like, I want to mentor this person here in this part of town. I could be his support. Like you said, you can't do things on your own. I mean, you can in theory, but the chances of you stumbling are higher than if you have that support system. So is there any kind of like maybe some kind of like an inmate liaison to the streets type
Yeah,
program?
you have a bunch of them. Yeah, a bunch. You got well, we used to do this stuff called community engagement,
Okay.
and what we do is a team of maybe 4 or 5 CIWs. They're called community intervention workers. And
Okay.
what they do is like they're from that community. They grew up in that community. They were probably doing certain things back then with the
Hmm.
background that probably going through the legal system and all that. But now they turn their life around. So what they do is like we get them someone that wants to get them community engaged and provide resources and help out with the schools and stuff like that, like safe passage stuff like that.
Hmm.
And they start reaching out to those community members and they start letting them know, look, we have certain resources for you guys. We're gonna set up a workshop on this time at the park. Come on down. We got this. If we see that there's a big need on parenting, I mean,
Yeah.
mothers don't got no diapers, so they'll assess the need, and as that they're creating these workshops or these resource fairs so they can hand out stuff to the community.
Right.
Um, the mother might say, "Oh, mi hijo, he keeps getting in trouble. I don't know what to do with him."
Hmm.
Somebody saying, "Okay, we'll bring him down here. Let us talk to him and let's see what does he like. He likes boxing. Does he like sports? He like look. This is where you could go, and they actually won't charge you. It's low income. If you're low income,
Yeah.
then your kid will play for the whole season for free. Because remember, that's a
Damn.
charge. That's a fee. Most
Right.
families in our communities can't afford that.
Nope.
You know what
My
I'm saying? So
dad.
you gotta yeah. So
Yeah,
you
my
gotta
dad
find
tried to get me
ways.
into soccer when I was younger, but we thought we didn't know. I mean, back then it was probably like $20 or $30, but that was a lot of money back then,
Yeah,
So, and then uniforms and shit like that. You know what I was
right.
thinking, Dago? What about something along the lines of like when they catch all young, like for example, how you went to camp, when you went to was it Kilpatrick and all that good shit? Gosh,
Miller, yeah, yeah.
when
A
I
couple
was
of them, yeah.
I still remember going out there.
Well,
Anyway, but if at that age, they could already identify who's going to be a knucklehead, you know what I mean?
yeah.
There should be some kind of intervention that goes in there. And I think it should be more, and this might sound controversial, but why not start fucking, since you know that they're a type of personality, because a certain type of personality that fits the mold of being a gang member or being a knucklehead out in the streets. You know what I mean? And that type of personality could easily be molded in the system, but rather than all they're going in there to learn is how to be a better criminal. Let's be real. You know, why not just start fucking indoctrinating militaristic things as far as like military? You know what I'm
Well, they
saying? Like,
already are.
no, but what I'm saying is kind of like look at it as like a stepping stone into going into the military instead of like treating them like inmates, treat them like soldiers. As far as like all right, after you set some like some attainable goals, like hey, keep your nose clean out of this, keep yourself out of trouble, and we'll start prepping you to when you turn 17, 18 to join the military.
What they
Cause
do, they got stuff like Sunburst Academy. Sunburst
okay,
Academy, if you're low in credits for school,
yeah,
you go there for 6 months, and it's like a military school, and then you do extra, but you're also getting credits, so you get out with a high school diploma.
no
And then
shit.
when you get out with the high school diploma, then they're plugging you with a job. But the thing is that the criteria, bro, the
uh,
ones that are already caught up, they might already have a felony.
Yeah.
It might be hard to catch them. I mean, like they might want to do this, but the pull is so hard. Like I've had some look. My first experience, bro, I'm gonna tell you my first experience when I used to do gang intervention.
Okay.
I had two young men. I had a partner. He was showing me how to do everything, right? And he picked up two youngsters that he was working with. One from Pacoima Projects, and the other one was from Pacoima, not neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get along, but because he's been working with them, he's worked in a relationship where they're able to see each other not beef. You know what I mean? Because out of respect for a partner, right?
Right.
So he gets them. So we talked to Sunburst Academy, and Sunburst Academy like, hey, bring them down. We're having orientation. We only have it twice a month, twice a year, and it's coming up. Bring those two guys, and we'll get them plugged in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
talked to both of them. They were like, yeah, they kind of did it because they knew they were going to be gone for so long, like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But they knew they were going to get out of high school diploma and they were going to get out of the neighborhood. They were they were doing things right.
Right.
And Bert, no, one of them says, "Okay, I'll go." The second one's like, "Okay, I'll be ready at this time." Right, but the first one didn't look like he wanted to go. You know,
Yeah.
so we're like, "All right, cool." So the next morning, we set up the appointment and everything. The one that looked like he wanted to go, he never even responded or nothing. Right. The
Right.
other one said that he was going to be ready. He was ready, bro. He had everything ready. He had his paperwork, his ID, everything. We had him ready.
Yeah.
We took him. It was in Los Alamitos. There's a base there.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's the National Guards,
Okay.
right? And so they go over there. They give the spills in the base. They go in there, go into the stadium or whatever they have, or the you know where they got the stadium, the stage. What they got the auditorium.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Auditorium, yeah. Go in there, there's a bunch of kids, man. I'm talking about like over 100,
Damn.
and with case workers, casemen. So they took their time out of their day, set this up so they could get these guys going, right?
Right.
They go through the orientation spill. They go get shown outside. They're treated like they're in the military. They're trying
Okay.
to see if they could break them because if they break them, that means they're not ready.
Okay.
So they got to go through that part, right? So
Right.
now you're already testing. You got a kid now that's in and out, doesn't know if he wants to do this. He goes there. He's experiencing. Okay, I got to do this. You know what I mean? And he passes that part. Okay, we got him. So we're going. He's going along with it. He's like, I could do this shit. I do this shit in jail anyways. You know,
Right.
going right. Bam. He's going. We go through the whole process. We spend the whole day there, bro. Spend the whole day there. He's like one of the last ones to get seen by one of the counselors there.
Yeah.
That's gonna say you're in. You know what I mean? You come this day with your property. You're gonna get going. I don't remember if it was the way he was dressed or what, but he rejected the kid. He told him, "No, you know what? You're gonna have to wait till the next orientation." After we spent all day there, bro. After we spent, and we're not talking about. Remember, there's a lot of kids, so
Yeah.
everything's going kind of quick, and and I told you it's military. So they're like, all right, everybody line up right here, and there's no bitching, there's no crying, because that's going to show us that you're not going to be like that during our process.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Trying to
Yeah.
see where you're at. Remember, trying to see where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do all this. He doesn't get in. He's like, man, fuck these fools. I'm like, man, don't trip, man. We'll get next time. We'll know what they're gonna want, and at least you know what I mean. We already know the process. Like trying to motivate him, like
Right.
try to get something good out of it, right? So he takes off. Okay, so we get him. We take him back home, and he's mad. He goes home. He's like, fuck this, So we're like, fuck. So we're thinking like, okay, let's go see if we take him out tomorrow. Go eat.
Yeah.
Like that, you know what I mean? So later on that day, man, it was a long day, right? Because we're part
Yeah.
of that process too. Remember, we're sitting with him, and we're like, if we're doing it, you could do it, bro. And this is for you, like
Right.
that type of stuff. And sure enough, man, the one that didn't go, the kid that went was from the projects.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the projects with another young man and about 6 little kids running around and playing with him. And the one that didn't go that day runs up into the projects with another of his guys with 2 guns. They run up to the guy and because he knew him from the program,
Yeah.
he's seen him and he pulled out the strap and he told the kids, all the little kids, hey, get the fuck out of here. And tell him get the fuck out of here. He kills my boy.
What the?
Yeah. So then now we got 2 situations. Now we got a mother that's crying over her son. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we had to bury him, and now we got a kid that his mom is crying because his son's wanted for murder.
Right.
We got these families.
You
You know what
know,
I'm saying?
yeah, man. And it's fucked up because it's handed down family to family. I mean, we're in 2023 now. This isn't 1980. This is 1970. This is shit that, I would have thought by now, like, it would have played out. You know what I mean? I can understand back in the day because we were first generations, and then like you were saying earlier, growing up in South Central, I mean, we were very, very few. There was a lot of blacks. So, but now it's more 50-50. But it's just crazy how you
But
would think
now,
that somebody would guide them, and then
there's this is the thing now, man. Look, back then, back then, and I know I'm not into no conspiracies and all that shit. I'm going
right,
by from what I know and what I see.
right.
Okay, this shit was planned to fuck up the blacks in their community back then. Drugs. I'm talking
Oh
about
yeah.
drugs now. I'm talking about drugs. Before this was even around crack, you
Hmm.
had you had African American families. You had all kinds of people living with resources. The Black Panthers, us, those were all made and created to help their communities.
Hmm.
What was brought in was the CIA. If you look back really into it, man, what they did, they created division. They created division among themselves, and that's how the Crips and the Bloods came about for that.
Right.
And then you had our communities, which were getting persecuted for maybe the suits, maybe because you were illegal, maybe because your skin wasn't white, maybe because you're living on the wrong side of Alameda,
Right.
right? So you have all these things going on, right? So during this time, all we're doing is just taking it on stride, right? Like we're like, fuck it, this is the way it is. This is the way it is. Fuck it, we just gotta keep going. We just gotta keep going. And but gangs, it's just a family, bro. It's what they're involved in is what fucks it up because they're involved in murder, gangs, domestic violence, all kinds of craziness, right?
But Dago,
But let me get to my point. Why?
yeah, yeah,
Watch,
yeah.
let me check this out. So if they were seeing gangs ain't going nowhere. This world is ran on gangs. It's just that this right here, they're profiting out of this shit. So what it is, because they profited so much, it's so deep that our kids are dying regardless if they try or not. We got drugs, we got fentanyl. Look, and I'm not talking about, man, you go to Skid Row, the majority of people in Skid Row are white. They're not even from the state. They're not
Hmm.
even from the city.
Yep.
I'm telling you, fentanyl, and that's another ballgame, right? But if we start looking at gangs and say, okay, look, I'm not trying to take you away from this, but if you did this, just how much more powerful your community will be because you're educating everyone. Now instead of fighting for that corner, now you got houses, your own homes. So you got to bring it that like in schools, they don't teach you about money management. They don't teach you
Exactly.
about credit cards. Why not? We use money our
Mhm.
lives because they don't want you to do that. They want you to be the employee and not the boss.
So let's go back a little bit to the gang thing. So gangs originally weren't even gangs. They were
So
classified gangs
gangs
by
were
the
gangs.
LAPD. No, but
No,
they
there
were
were gangs. They go all the way back to the late 1800s.
okay, but in other words, what I'm trying to say is like they didn't even consider themselves gangs. So for
No
example,
clubs. They were called clubs.
that's what I was going to go to. They considered themselves clubs. They were classified gangs by the fucking by the LAPD, and
APD. Yeah.
but back then, those clubs or whatnot, they handle business within their own communities. Now,
Right.
if we were to take the stigma off, say gangs, and call it a social club or
On their community.
a
That's a
community
community. That's
resource,
why I call it that. Yeah,
right?
because the stigma of just gang changes
Yep.
the whole fucking scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pero también, like you were saying earlier, we got to get out of that mentality of, blood for blood. I mean, okay, is it ever going to stop? Probably not. But shit, it did in the fucking mid 90s during the fucking peace treaty, but that was a whole other different story. But if it was able to stop then for that, then why can't we stop now?
Hey, look, now it's a whole different game, bro. Now you still got gang banging. It's a lot of for the youngsters, but it's a culture, bro.
Yeah.
It's not going nowhere. It's just like you got a military culture. It's like you said, when they come out, you know what? The VA reminds me of the parole office. You know why? Because when you go to the VA, you probably meet others that were part of the branch
Hmm.
that you were from. They probably align with you on how you act and how you behave because you guys are from the same background.
Right.
When I go to the parole office, I go with them like, oh, what's up, my boy? You just got out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, you chilling? Oh, what are you saying? Are you looking for a job too? I mean, so that's what it reminds me of. I mean, but at some
No,
point, because you're not finding what you're looking for there, you go somewhere else and it gets harder.
Dude,
You know what I'm saying?
you're 100% as far as like going to the VA. I know I've talked about it before as well. Like that's one of the only places I feel comfortable at is like, and I feel like socializing is there because that's where, like you were saying, back to the trauma, let's go back to trauma bonding. When I heard that fucking phrase, oh, look at that. What you got? Is that a pug?
Coco, yep.
Damn.
Coco. Say, that's your uncle right there. Coco. That's your uncle right there.
What's up, pugs? What's his name?
Coco. Coco
Coco?
Puff.
Oh, dale, Cocoa Puff. Oh my God, Cocoa Puffs were the shit back in the day. Ooh, anyway, that's another story for another day, right there.
Yeah.
God damn, we must have smoked about 50 Cocoa Puffs that night.
Man. Hey, remember, remember we go to the hood. I'm like, look, fool. Remember, I would take you to the hood and I'd be like, look, don't even trip, boy. Come out
Right.
of there like New Jack City, huh?
All I remember was like, hey, fool, go ahead and park right here. I'll be back. Man, I'm in the station wagon going around in circles. Man, I had to tell my homie to not shoot you because they thought you were fucking trying to do something.
No, remember when they stopped you guys? I think
Me,
they
you, and
stopped us in
Lazy.
the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, "Where you from?"
Oh,
Because for you guys know, the neighborhoods that we're from, we didn't get along.
at
And to this
all.
day,
Yeah.
they kill each other.
Yeah.
And so, but we're family, it's a whole
Yep.
different ballgame. And freaking, we're riding around my neighborhood, and the
Fool.
cops stop and they get us off. And I think who was it, Lazy or
It was
somebody, right?
Lazy, me, Lazy, and
Somebody. And
you.
then they're like, "You're from where?" And he's from what? And they're like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Okay." And I think they let us go
What
because
the
of that.
fuck is
They're like,
going on here?
it's all
Like,
crazy with the guy.
fucking hey, man. Yeah,
Hey,
like I
but
said,
look, taking it back,
yeah,
that's what I'm trying to get at. We gotta create environments where people feel comfortable the way you feel comfortable in the VA.
like a community center,
A
bro. But
community like that. You know what I'm
look at
saying?
it like
Yeah.
this: you got all these Latino rappers out there, right? So what are they doing in the community? I don't know. I'm not out there.
They do a lot.
Are
They
they doing?
just like Kendrick Lamar, the Chicano rap like Kid Frost. I'm telling you, it's different out here now, bro. Everything is different. Like they're more into helping because we know we gotta help each other. We can't
Right.
wait for help. We got to do this within because we can't have people from the outside coming in looking at us like if we're some type of specimen and then going back and doing some data out of the shit and trying to get some more funding. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So
fuck that.
let's go over to the PTSD a little bit. I want to run back to that. So there's no resources then from the CDC, obviously,
So
because
CDC, you got to see, and that's a perfect example because it's not just CDC, it's CDCR. It's not just CDC, but everybody forgot R stands for rehabilitation.
rehabilitation.
But
Yeah,
people forget that part because there is no rehab.
there is no
That's
rehabilitation.
what I'm getting at.
How can
Yeah.
you rehab when they're just basically throwing you out, man? I mean,
Yeah.
and saying good luck, motherfucker, but we'll see you here in a couple of months because we need that money.
And especially those with drugs. The
Yeah.
ones that are on drugs, those are the worst ones because if they go back out, they've been sober all these years, it's because they haven't been tempted.
Mm-hmm.
And because they probably didn't want to get their ass whooped in jail, they're doing drugs, and they're like, fuck this, I want to come out of your life. Because they know they're bad when they do drugs. There's people that you see in jail that were homeless out in the street, and they're like walking around like Hercules or something. You know what I mean? And there's like a whole but the drugs would jack them up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, it's you. I see that every day, bro. That fentanyl, something threw fentanyl up in this place, and it's killing America from the inside because it's so easy to get, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so easy for them to get killed. And now what they're doing is drug dealers are lacing it up, like they'll lace up weed, they'll lace up pills, and won't tell their customers for they get something out of it, and then
Yeah.
they'll be coming back. But they don't know that they're doing fentanyl, and sometimes they're ODing on it.
Dude, I heard that they were putting like okay, so back in the old days, I used to love to do yayo. So now I heard, even if I wanted to do it, I don't even think I would just because I'd be too paranoid that it's laced with fentanyl.
Right.
I know
Yeah.
that back in the day they used to put laxatives. I get it, hence why I got the shits every time I fucking snorted. But I ain't trying to fucking, just take that permanent shit when I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that.
Nah, man, I think we're too old for shit like that anymore,
For
man.
real, man. Look, I
It's
mean,
like it's not like when you're around young and no responsibilities. I mean, you haven't even seen the other side of town yet, so you don't even know that you're missing out yet. Now,
yeah.
we'll probably get faded and it'll be like, fuck, I can't believe I chose this fucking room over fucking going out of town or seeing or going to the camping. Like, because we see so much more now. I'm more
Man,
aware of stuff now.
it's a trip. Like, I really wish, man, I wish I had the money to provide these resources to the children from out there in our communities. You know what I mean? Because honestly, I think that had we had more experiences in camping, more experiences in going out, doing shit out of the neighborhood. You know
Yep.
what I mean? I think that
Yep.
we would have had a better chance. You know what I mean? Do I think that people are going to be knuckleheads? Are going to be knuckleheads? Yeah, but
Yeah.
at the
And
same
that's
time,
what
with
gangs
this,
are not. That's what
but
gangs
here,
are not.
exactly. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even have to go. We could use that motivation that one has and put it and direct it, kind of like a river.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like a river. We're flowing, and wherever you guide us is where we're gonna go. But if you leave us wide open, we're just gonna flood over and go into where we grew up. It was When we grew up, it was different too. I mean, there was only certain ways. You had rebels, you had gangsters, you had fucking
Taggers.
ravers and taggers. Tagging is where it started for me.
Quebraditas.
Oh yeah, then you have the fools that were up
Quebraditas.
by
Yeah.
side. So
Yeah.
you choose what lane you're gonna go into. You know what I mean? And I know I didn't want to be a lame. We grew up in a place where you don't want to be a lame. You know what I mean? Because we saw who got made fun of, and we kind of like the risk of shit. And luckily we survived it. You know, God damn, I think about it now. We're about to make our 46th trip around this
Yeah.
motherfucking sun, bro.
Yeah.
And shit. 30 years ago, if you would have told me this would have been our lives, I wouldn't have believed you.
No.
You
No.
know,
Never.
fuck
Never.
no. I mean, you talking about two knuckleheads that, god damn.
Yeah. I think the last time I seen you, Danny. Oh no, it was not the last time. I'm tripping. But I think when we got extended was I think when they had shot up the wedding, that one wedding thing.
That's when
And I think after that, I didn't see you for a long time. Then I seen you again after that. Yeah.
that was for the
With Doug,
homeboy's
I think.
wedding,
Or somebody's
where
wedding. That's what it was.
Doug's wife got
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
She got shot.
because there was some fools that were chasing some other fools that ran into where
Right.
the
The church was at.
yeah, they ran into
Yeah.
the church where they were having the rehearsals,
Yeah.
and then those fools started busting, and because that
And
idiot ran to where the fucking all the people were.
and that's how fast life was.
Yeah,
Look, from one minute to the other, you're celebrating a wedding, and now somebody's getting shot. It's like, wait a minute, we're supposed to be celebrating a wedding over here.
yeah,
And that's just how it was.
and it's crazy. Like, and the knucklehead, the dumb motherfucker that ran in there. Why did you run in there thinking they're gonna stop shooting at a church? These motherfuckers are
I don't
gang
know.
banging. You know what I mean? There was no respect for the church back then. Motherfuckers are blasting you if they're gonna chase you.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. But you know what? We got to start when they're young, bro.
Yeah.
And if it's not gangs, it's depression. If it's not depression, it's isolation,
Do they
civilization.
have in the system, do they have therapists like for depression,
No,
for PTSD, for
no, there's no
anxiety?
therapist in there. I've never seen them. I don't know. I've never
How do
seen it.
What about in all like in camps or in YA or in the halls? Do they
Well, in
have
the
any kind of
halls, you had a
therapists?
counselor, but I don't remember anybody like a therapist or anything like that. But there is a case manager that is supposed to prep you when you get out.
But
You
to
know,
them, you're just probably
but there's
another
so
number
many.
anyway.
There's so
Yeah,
many. So you're only probably seeing her like maybe once a month or something. I don't remember. I just remember her because she has big breasts. So I
yeah.
used to love go seeing her, and I'll be like, "Damn, Miss Lan, you got some big ass titties." Hey, scratch that. Now back
You
to our PSA announcement.
This dude, it just trips me out, man. I really wish that I think that if they started off young, like in when they started going to this, as soon as they start seeing them in
As soon as I
school,
seen that, yeah, yeah.
it's
But
time
there's
like
so many. Like they try.
yeah,
It's just so many kids, and not enough.
resource.
How's to say it? There's too many people. Some for the hands of the plow, something like that. It tells you that there's so much work, but just not enough hands. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And if you do have hands, their agenda and their goal is totally different from seeing someone uplifted, overcoming, being productive in life, right? Their mission might be I need to pay my rent, so I'm gonna get these fundings. I'm gonna get because remember you got people in control, and humans are
Right.
not perfect, and sometimes you got these agendas that don't work for the community, right? So
I think that some
you
of them probably start with their
they
heart in
probably
the
come
right
with good
place,
intentions, yeah, yeah,
and then
and
it
then they
just
become greedy.
yeah,
You know, they become
Or
greedy.
they just become cynical, where they're like, man, I've tried and tried and tried, but there's no change, you know. So they just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do my job and get my paycheck.
And that's when you start doing things traditionally. So
Right.
that's what I've learned. I've learned that the traditional way is not working.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to revamp something. You got to come up with. So anytime I have a client or I'm meeting with someone, I tell them I'm not the traditional case manager. I'm not your traditional case worker. I go,
Right.
you might not see what I've done, or you might not know what I've done, but just know that nothing that you say is going to surprise
Right.
me. And I'm not here to be against you. I'm just here to find out what's going on, so that we can find some. You know what I mean? Where you need to go. That's it.
Right.
I go. I don't think I got a magic wand or anything like that, but it's just I understand. You know what I'm saying? I understand that sometimes we dig a hole for ourselves, and sometimes we need help out of that hole.
I,
And let's do this.
you know what? What's funny is that you say that. There's one thing that I tell people, like, you know, I might not be able to get you out of the hole that you're dug in, but I'll sit in there with you
Right.
until we get out of it together. You know what I
And that's
mean?
big. And that's big itself. That's
Yep.
big itself, man.
Having that support. All right, so we're gonna come back. I'm gonna shoot you another link in about 10 minutes, fool, and we'll
Okay.
come back
Hey,
out. Or
you
you
think
gotta
we're
call
done
it.
by one?
Oh my god. All right, we're back with the final motherfucking wrap up part of this episode. So check it out, man. As we've been discussing, there's a lot of similarities, you know. Well, there's not too many resources for people that have been in the incarcerated in California. I don't know about any other states. If any other states have any, hey, hit me up, let me know. I know that I've had a couple of service members that I people that I served with that, you know, have been incarcerated. And you know, it's pretty fucked up, you know, that they end up getting locked up because they're being failed on as veterans here by the system that's they promised was going to help us. You guys, on the other hand, y'all ain't promised shit, you know. So you obviously experienced some traumatic. We had some trauma prior to the military. To our we had trauma in our youth.
Right.
However, we didn't view it as trauma. It was just everyday life for us. You know what I mean? Like, if we were to tell people some of the shit that we experienced, we would have been diagnosed with PTSD before we even joined, or before we ever.
Well, they've always had PTSD. It was just called something else since the Vietnam War, I think.
Well, they changed it to PTSD during Vietnam. Before that, it was called shell
Yeah,
shock
it
and
was
all
like,
this
yeah,
other
like
shit.
three other names. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in the civilian sector, though. I mean, you guys. I mean, even before. How can I put this? Even on the streets, how many motherfuckers that have we not seen shot? Have we not been shot at? Have we not been involved in situations that our anxiety gets kicked in? So with that said, you know, when you came out, how did you deal? When did you realize that you had PTSD and how it affects you? And what do you do to normalize it, you know, to live with it?
Well, I think that's like I said. I feel like I'm doing everything backwards, man. I feel like I'm actually catching up for a lot of time, and I don't want to say time lost because whatever I experienced in my life, that's who I am. You
Right.
know, I don't regret nothing. Would I done things different back then if given a chance? Maybe, but I don't sit there and dwell and say, "Oh, maybe this, maybe that," and that's actually part of PTSD too, because you got to overcome that. Because remember, when you're out there in the streets, you're either a gang member, gang banger, or whatever the case might be, right? Because you don't even
Mhm.
have to necessarily be in a gang to be caught up in life. You know what I mean? You could be you could be in you could be a biker, you could be a lawyer. You know what I mean, but got an alcohol problem. You know what I'm saying? It's just everything just carries a different consequence, right? Some more than others, right? But you something happens to you along the way, right? And then you start your once you want to get balanced out, it's very hard because remember I'm used to let's just go back to dealing with confrontations, right?
Right.
Right away you want to fight. I can't fight my way through this because I'll end up in jail again. You know what I mean? And not everything needs a fight. You know what I mean? And that's what I had to understand too. It's like picking tools, man. Like, yeah, that person did certain whatever, but is it really that serious for you to take time out of your life and dwell on that and make it an issue? No. You know what I mean, and had to learn how to do that because like I said again, somebody disrespects me, right away I want to get physical. You know what I mean? Someone says something that I didn't like, right away I want to get my input. I want to say no. I want the last word. You know what I mean? Like and it's like it's not. It makes life real complicated. You don't know how to balance because there's a time and place for everything, right? So it's just I need to. So that's one of the things I had to learn how to approach people, how to deal with people. I had to learn how to go back into society because remember, now I'm out of my comfort zone. Now I'm dealing with civilians that they don't know what I just came from, or they don't know how I dealt with life. You know what I mean? So
Right.
even my whole environment is different, and I gotta adjust to this. You know what I mean? I gotta learn how to gotta go buy groceries now. I gotta learn how to pay my rent every month. I can't just go from apartment to apartment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Seeing what the day brings. You know what I mean? I don't have to carry a gun. You know what I mean? I don't have to sell drugs. You know what I mean? I can make income another way. You know, I
Right.
don't have to. I could do it the right way. The thing is, I've never been taught that way. And then now I'm a grown man starting in the bottom when I could have just started a long time ago. So now even that, your self respect, like fuck, am I man enough? Like
It gets
fuck,
you
like
into a
yeah,
depression,
like
right?
fuck. I'm struggling. Does everybody else struggle? And now that's back then when you didn't really have social media. Now you get on social media, you see people in fantasy worlds like, oh man, this person's doing, bro. Not everybody under this. They're giving you a glimpse. No one don't take it personal, man. Let that person enjoy their time. Let them express the way they want to express. But don't take it personal. It's social media.
Right.
I mean, even if you feel like somebody might be talking, don't. Who cares? Life is too short for that, you know. And live your life. You know what I mean? That's why it's like when you see me on social media, I'm just clowning.
Yeah.
Either I got some time on my hand right now, and I'm just like okay, or a song just got me good, and
Yeah.
that's just how I am, bro. I put oldies. I love oldies.
Oh yeah.
And just because I'm putting oldies, some other girls like, damn, are you going through it? I go, no, I just love oldies. You know what I mean? Like, why do I have to
Exactly.
go through something? I'm not thinking about someone what I'm doing. Like, I'm actually just enjoying my time. I'm probably cleaning, doing something, you know. And
Right.
the song just stood out, whatever it is, you know. But it's people they overthink too much now. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
so that makes it hard. You know what I mean? And then again, paranoia. You know what I mean? That law enforcement, because law enforcement plays a big role in my trauma.
Yeah.
See, I don't now. Yeah, law enforcement they're there to protect us and serve, right? That's the goal, right? But I've been set up by them twice. I've seen the other side. I know what they're capable of. I know that if they're having a bad day, guess what? They're gonna take out on somebody because they
Mhm.
have the authority to do. Now it's a little harder for them because they got cell phones, so you can't get away with shit that easy now. But
Exactly.
believe me, I grew up in a time when man, these motherfuckers get away with anything, and they will believe them just because you were affiliated with something. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So that's a trauma itself that I had to overcome. And the way I think I overcame all that is by working and going through trainings, and it kind of brought awareness to me,
Yeah.
and I kind of processed that and kind of figured it out on my way how to cope with it, and now I'm able to give it to someone else.
You know what's crazy to me is the fact that a lot of people think that motherfuckers, because they made bad decisions, that they're dumb. You
Yeah, it's
know,
just a bad decision, bro.
it's just a decision that they
Yeah,
made that got them. Because you know what, you could get caught for a DUI, go do time. Now you could end up getting caught up for something else and doing
yeah,
more time when you could have been out in 6 months. Now
yeah,
you're probably catching another
yeah,
attempted murder case. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So
And that's how fast life is, bro. That's why,
yeah,
like, they're always asking me, "Hey, man, did I go to play the park? I'm playing handball, basketball.
yeah,
I'm doing stuff, but stuff that I feel in my life are my goals, and I want to hit these before I hit 50. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
I don't know, I feel like I got a lot of energy, but I know at some point age is going to catch up, and I don't want the age be a factor for the reason that I didn't get to experience certain things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But and I have that freedom right now. Like you get what I'm
Shit.
saying?
When I see you put your shit up when you're going out there hiking and being out there with nature, bro, I'm like, he's doing it right. And I'm glad to see that shit.
Yeah,
Because every once in a while, I know you be posting up that where you out there on the streets, how the guy is as a youngster,
yeah,
and it's amazing. Like for people, if people would know like who you were to who you are now, they would see two different people. You know what I
right,
mean? But I mean, it's the same person,
right.
just with a different point of view and
A different
mentality. You know what I
mentality. Yeah,
mean? It's not that you've changed as a person; it's just you've
no,
changed your
yeah.
ways in thinking. You
I
know what I
change my
mean?
activities because I'm always going to be part of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm always going to have love for my neighborhood. That's part of me. But
Right.
I just don't live there no more. I'm not. That's not. I'm in a whole different place in
Let me
life. I
ask
mean,
you
you
something.
always got to move. You always got to keep on moving. You got to grow.
Do you ever go to your neighborhood and talk to the youngsters there, or do you
I
keep
see.
those
I see.
separated?
I see kids from my neighborhoods in my job. Sometimes I got to help. Yeah, they're referred by the probation officer or something. And I'm like, oh, you're from so and so, and they might not even know who I am. But I'm like, okay, I'm really going to help you out. Really. I
Okay.
mean, because because they're going through the system. You know what I mean, that's what I do. I work through the system stuff. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
so if it's through one program or another one, the mom sometimes a mother needed food and maybe they needed certain food bank information or whatever. I go over there. I mean, I might be my little homie's mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, okay. And because I'm familiar with that area, see, my goal is this, man, to somehow hit a community just like that and finish my time off. Like I want to dedicate my life, and and I know along the way I'll find because I'm picky now, bro. I'm not. I've learned that I won't just give my time just to anybody now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I like to appreciate my time, but I can't get it back.
Yeah.
And if I'm spending time, like I don't like mislead no one. I don't like to, play games with nobody. But if I'm gonna take you serious, I'm gonna take you serious. You know what I mean? Like if this is gonna be my queen, I'm gonna treat you like a queen. I mean, like I'm in
Yeah.
that stage. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not really with all that other craziness. So I try to keep it simple, bro. And whoever's gonna be part of that is gonna be part of that too. You know what I mean? Because they're gonna align with it. That's how you know it's gonna be right. You know what
And
I'm saying?
that's some righteous shit right there. One thing that it took a long time that you don't think about when you're a young man is money. You can waste it, but you can also make it back. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? What you
Right.
can't waste is time
Yeah.
because you'll never get
Right.
that shit back.
And today,
And
time flies like this, bro.
bro, it was like just yesterday we were in our fucking teens
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
20s, and now here we are again, gonna be fucking 46 years.
Yeah.
Like, fuck. And
Quick.
then you think about it, like, what have I accomplished? You know, and honestly, man, you've accomplished much more than probably a lot of people in our family thought they would give you credit for. You know what
Right.
I
Right.
mean? And the fact that you're giving back to the community, in your own way, that says a lot too.
Thank you.
Nah, bro. I mean, shit. I know that if it was possible, if we had the money, I know that there would be fucking resources out there in South Central, out in the West Side, out by MacArthur Park, to get these kids out.
And but we can, Danny. That's the goal. So we might not be rich, bro, but
Mhm,
look, there's funding out there, bro.
mhm.
And because of my history and the stuff that the knowledge that I've gained, I can put all that together and make it look pretty on a piece of paper.
Yeah,
And they'll fund the government will fund that in order for me to provide those resources to those communities.
right. How do
You get
you?
what I'm saying?
Yeah, but how do we
There's
go about
grants.
even getting the first
You got to
step
write
in?
grants. So this called a thing called SAMSA, SAMSAK, and that's under recovery, like rehabilitation, right?
Okay,
And they have a section that has all the grants are available for that year, and they got grants for everything. They got grants from $500 to up to $1 million, and
damn.
nobody applies to them simply because they don't know they're there. It's
Right.
like the resources in our community, like there's resources, there's flooded resources in our community. There's all kinds of stuff if you know where to go. But somebody has to be a bridge from that kid coming out of jail to that
Hmm.
resource. Because that person could be walking in front of that building all their life and not
Yeah,
even know that there was a resource there all that
for
time.
real. You are
Because
100% right.
it's like the stars. We don't there's stars up there. We're not seeing them because we're constantly looking down, bro. You know what I'm saying? But they're there. We just gotta know where to look.
We're not seeing the forest full of trees, man.
Yeah. And
You know
that's
what
what
I'm
we gotta
saying?
be, bro. We gotta be that person that helps them through the bridge. I mean to the other
Fuck
side,
yeah.
bro. And because of the grants, and you're building. You gotta build everything anything that gives like that is not gonna be easy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Anything that gives you that type of reach, you got to work for it. I mean, you
What
got to put in
sucks
your work.
is we got to build. Well, I say we, I'm using the royal we. What we need to do is build that trust within the community because I know there's a lot of kids out there, like you were saying, that one homie that you guys took him out there, spent the whole day with them, and then they let him down. So, he's
Yes,
putting all his
yes,
he's putting in his trust just to be let down, so
right,
that's kind of shitty right there.
right,
And
right.
how many times has that kid been let down already by either his family or the system already?
And that's how you know how important. You see that every time I do my work, it always takes me back to when I started
Hmm.
from how that played out. Because if that one kid would have probably gone with us that day, who knows? He might have got in,
Yeah.
and we would have not had someone killed later on. If that kid wouldn't have been rejected, he wouldn't be sitting on that porch.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? But we can't play the what if.
Yeah.
We got to keep going. We got to keep going. And we just got to learn from this and build from it right way. And we got to build it in a good foundation. Because if you don't build in the right foundation, next you know, everything's sinking. When this life hits it, it sinks. It's like a foundation building a house. You
Yeah.
got to form it in a good foundation because if not, it will sink. You know what I mean?
And you got to have the right people in there
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
not going to be fucking trying to scheme or
yeah.
skim money from the top.
Or have a good heart. Like you said, people start off the right way. It's
Yeah.
just that something happens during the process. Something helps. Something happens while they're doing the work, right? Maybe they're giving too much and not feeding themselves in order to give. Because you got
Right.
to be healthy yourself in order to give too. You could burn out yourself too. And that's where it goes back to self care. In the field that I work, they always preach self care because why? There's burnout. You might
Yeah.
be helping this person out, and you might not even see a difference 2, 3 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You see this person right, they're giving them housing for free, they're giving them all this, and they're still just rather do something else. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And because you are reaching that side and you're reaching this side, you're like, fuck, man, you just don't know what you have. And because you don't know what you have because you didn't work for it. And that's how it is. When you get something easy, you don't care much about it. But if you would have worked and you pay your rent, I best believe you're gonna be like, hell no, this is my home. I'm gonna respect it. I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
There's you put more, well, that's where the value comes in. If you don't know how to value shit if you don't have to work for it.
Right,
The
right.
the more you struggle for something, the more you're gonna be like appreciative of it. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
And that's what
So
you're getting out of it. You're
it,
not getting to accomplish, you're getting what you got through the process.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's building you. That's what's creating that character in you as you're going. Because this is just something that's building you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Then we're all gonna die, bro. We can't take shit with us. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So why not build something inside of us that's gonna shine and bring light to others? You know what
That's
I'm saying?
right. So listen, y'all out there, if you're out there and you can make a difference in somebody's life, do it.
Oh yeah,
A simple, hey, how you doing,
yeah,
kid, makes so much of a fucking difference. Especially there's kids out there. I remember shit, when I was 19, 20 years old, I remember there was this one kid, man. I saw him. He was with this one chick I was banging at one time. But he was like maybe like fucking 9 or 10 years old, bro. And fucking already smoking cigarettes and shit like
right,
that. His mom didn't give two shits. She just wanted to get laid. I
right.
mean, I remember the little homie Ant Hormiga. I remember that little fool. I mean,
Oh
he
look,
was young
you
as
talking about the
fuck.
little kid that used to live next door now? His apartment's on the building. The
No, no, no. This was
oh okay,
this was another one.
oh
But I
okay,
mean, the it was just I just trip out. I mean, then I think about the little homie Evil. You
yeah,
know, when I heard he got killed, that one broke my fucking heart because I knew him since he was a little kid,
yeah,
going to school.
yeah.
And then it's just like, fuck, man. When is it gonna stop?
But that's
Hopefully,
you know what things are getting hard everywhere now, man. You know the gang scenery, it's there. It's not going nowhere.
yeah,
Now is the focus more on homelessness, drugs. You know what I mean? Now those are the factors in our community. You know what I mean, because there's a lot of gang members out here that they're not part of nothing that's crazy. They're actually
right.
productive. You
Well,
know? They
because
just
does that have to do with a lot of the homies coming out and actually trying to rectify and
no,
correct them?
no. It's because well, it could be for different reasons. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think because what they're doing now, they're embracing it. But back then, you didn't see a lot of people with tattoos dressed the way they do because it was known that you're either going to get killed or you're part of something, right?
Right.
So people would try to avoid that. I mean, don't want to get hit up walking to school, coming back from school, because they're going to rob you or whatever. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like, fool, why are you dressing like that? Even your mom would be like, Nikes? Hell no, I don't wear no Nikes, you know what I mean? But nowadays, it's a culture, right? So
Right.
now more people are more open to it. So now they're like, if my son and my daughter are having fun out there and they're enjoying their time, then why am I against it? You know what I
I
mean?
know
They're
we
not
had a
doesn't mean that
I,
they're gang
I
members.
know we talked about that, you and I, about the whole style, the cholo style. That look is now like it's embraced now, like
Right.
by those that have nothing to do with the cholo life.
Yeah.
I had a discussion with this one chick who she said that cholo is a culture, and I'm like, but
It
not
is a
just anybody,
culture.
but being a cholo is being a gangster. She's like, no, it's not. And I was like, well, yeah, it kind of is. You know what I mean? You can't say you're a cholo and not be a gangster, or am I wrong on that? Has shit changed that
What do you
much?
mean? Now, what Cholo is a gang member?
Okay, so according to her, she was telling me
No, no, no.
that,
But you know what? My bad, my bad. I'm gonna take that back because I think Cholo means something different in Aztecs. Something like that. It meant something different, and I think because of the Cholo, really, they're saying that it comes from the Chicano movement. So,
so
but the thing about it is that when we used to dress like that, it didn't matter if you were Mexican or another
no, it
race,
was just
you were still
pure.
getting hit up. You knew where you were coming
Well,
from.
so what I'm saying is, in order to be a cholo, you have to be of Hispanic origin and a gangster. It's a specific, like, okay, in other words, you were a gang member who's Hispanic. You're a cholo in a Hispanic gang. You know what I mean? You were a
As a Cholo,
cholo.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, she was saying no, it's not. You know, cholo is a culture, and
So she's changing it now. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's
So it's
changing to.
evolving,
Yeah, it's evolving. There you
and
go.
I get it. You know, like I get it that they might be inspired by the old lowrider scene and the gangster scene from the 80s and 90s, but to say that cholo is a culture. Motherfuckers used to get shot up for dressing up with a Pendleton and fucking Ben Davis and
But
Nike
you got to
Cortezes.
remember that that wasn't happening. That was in the 80s, 90s when the drugs and all that stuff came around.
Right.
Before cholos, they weren't fighting with guns. They were fighting with hook knives. They were fighting with bats. Same
También.
way same way that you see the outsiders, the
Right.
Jets,
Right.
the Sharks. They're no different. The only thing is that's why I'm trying to go back at that. They're no different from UCLA and USC going at it.
Right.
You know, there's no difference. The only thing is that there's a different thing. The biggest difference is though that one's making money out of the educational system, and the other one's making money out of the criminal system.
Right.
Now you can't be right here because if they don't have no gamers, they don't have no crime going on, or they can't label something, they can't use funding to go after them. So that means you ain't got no funding, you ain't got no paycheck that's big enough for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at. So everything was humanized. Like guys, oh, it's cholo. He's like, not everybody in the neighborhood is selling crack. Not everybody in the neighborhood is doing drugs. Not
Right.
everybody in the neighborhood is robbing people. There's
Right.
people that go to work every day, got families,
Yep.
got homes, own houses. There's man, I know so many. I know people that walk in USC that have a crazier background than mine, and they're about
Right.
to get their doctorate. That's the thing about it is because that moniker was right. They got your label in order to make money, and you're stuck with that. I mean, so the time has changed now. Now they're
Yeah.
saying now we got social media. Now we're like, nah, it's not what the news shows you. Let me show you what really the true cat that just came out the hood looks like. And then you're showing them somebody walking, taking care of the parents, buying their houses off. Here,
Right.
mama, you dealt with me this all time. Let me pay off your home. You know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
you got people that are even that didn't even go to school and fucking are good at Jeopardy like your ass. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's everybody's an individual, and it's just that title that tries to change things around by the view that you give somebody. Man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I
That's
mean,
what they did, man.
one day, I mean, oh man, I
Man, you
hope.
come out here, bro. The lowriders, bro. Man, you got lowriders are worth like 50, 60,000
Oh yeah. Well,
today.
shit. I remember when G
And
Man had that badass fucking orange
so now,
lowrider.
bro, you go out there today, Friday night,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sundays, bro, Boulevard, bro. And I'm not talking about like back then when everybody was fighting. I'm sure
Right.
you got to fight here and there. I'm talking about everybody just chilling, barbecues. You got the moms and the dads doing carne asada.
Yeah.
You got stands, bro. It's beautiful, bro. And then
So
the
now,
beautiful brown women.
what you're saying, if I'm interpreting this correctly, that the cholo culture that we had back then is not the same as it is now. Now it's
No,
more now it's evolved into, I'm sure there'll be fights here and there, but it's not like on site,
so the thing
putazos.
about it that those they're not cholos. They're not. This is the cholo culture.
Okay.
Is a culture that stems from people that were gang members before too. You know what I mean? But
Right.
if the gangs is different now, bro. Like gangs, there's no respect. There's no everybody's on drugs. Back then you see somebody on drugs, be like, hey, we won't beat the shit out of you,
Yeah.
crack. You know what I mean? Now it's like, oh, he's on crack? How come I can't be on crack? That's the type of mentality.
Yeah, I
and
remember back then it was fucking
yeah.
check cord if you were doing shit
Yeah,
like that.
or now these kids they're homeless, right? Before I remember there would be like about 7, 8 of us homeless in the streets, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't be on the streets. We'll be man. Somebody will get us an apartment. A mom would take us in.
Yeah, you go to one of your homies'
We'll
houses.
find some. Yeah, they'll take you in and say, "No, mijo, you're not gonna be on the streets here. I'm gonna feed you, and at least I know you guys were. I know where you guys are at. I mean,
Right.
now, hell no. Now these kids don't even look after their own family members. They'll have them in the streets. But that's the type of shit we get because social media.
Right.
Social media has polluted people's thinking. It's all about me. The schools, that's what they teach. Individuality. Well,
Yeah.
what's in it for me? Well, why am I going to do that? There's nothing in it for me. You know what I mean? Like, everything is about themselves. It's not a village no more. It's not a community no more. Everybody's out for, I got the biggest car, or I got the most money. And most of these cats, what do you see on social media? throwing stacks of money. Half of that shit's not even real, but you got these
Amen.
kids thinking it's real, and they're trying to say something. You know what I mean?
We're gonna have to come back on this one. We're gonna have to roll it back. Maybe we can get you on here in a couple of weeks or not, so we can run back because I do want to talk about the social media influence
Let's do
on
that.
this new
I got
generation.
some good shit on that.
All right, cool. So we'll try to get together here maybe in a week or so, drop another one, and we'll talk about because that's something I think has been the downfall of our society for the youngsters, and that's not just in LA, but I'm talking about just countrywide. There's no more pride in yourself. But that's going to be a different story for a different day. Hey, man, I appreciate you being here. I got to go pick
Thank you
my
for having
boy
me,
up.
Danny.
Dude, it's always a pleasure. You're more than
Look,
welcome
Danny.
on.
This shit right here, man. You're gonna keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna blow up, bro.
Mm.
And I'm telling you, my boy, but even something bigger than that, it looks like you're having fun with it, bro. And that's all that matters. So you keep doing
Yeah.
this shit, and I'm telling you, fuck even family, bro. Family sometimes they're the worst ones. You know what I mean? But just know that fuck them. You got your own family. You do what you gotta do, my bro, and I'm proud of you.
Hey, man, I got nothing but love for you, baby. Whenever you want to come down here, San Antonio, let me know. It's always
Oh,
open
we
here.
know it. We know it.
We got to get some more brisket, too. But,
That's
yeah,
right.
man, as always, thank you for being here. Everybody, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. If y'all got some topics y'all want to hit up, let me know. Hit them up in the comments, in the DMs, or over at onthegunline@gmail.com. Shout out to everybody who stayed through the whole episode. Make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you go to Amazon Music, YouTube, Spotify. Go to onthegunline.com. Get your ass a shirt. With that being said, rounds complete. End of mission. Gun line out. Bye,
Thank
mother.
you, Danny.